When you're identifying potential basin retrofit opportunities, it's important to know how much area drains to a particular basin. So if you have access to a database that has basin drawings and plans, you most likely might be able to find the drainage plans that have the drainage areas designed for the basins right on them. In that case, you can very easily find out the area because it's written right there. But sometimes you might not have access to that. Maybe you just can't find data on the basin. So you have to be able to draw the basin drainage area yourself. And for that, we're going to be using contours. First, let's talk about the idea of drainage areas. So a drainage area is the land area where precipitation falls off into creeks, streams, rivers, lakes, and reservoirs. This right here is a drainage area. This is a sub-watershed. If you look, turn on the streamlines, if you can see, this is the edge of the watershed. See how all of the streams begin at the top of the watershed. That's because, and if we turn on the contours, we will be able to see more easily. There is a high point, a ridge located along the edge of the watershed. So, it creates like a bowl, a basin. So if water were to fall, right here, like if there was a storm right here, half of the water would fall this way and flow into this basin, and then half of it would flow into this one. So yeah, that's what a drainage area is. Just if you have an imaginary storm, falls on an area, where is that flowing? Where's the water flowing? And, where's it going to end up? Before we delineate the drainage area of a real-life suburban basin, let's look at a watershed delineation example for the Sherman Brook watershed in Rhode Island. You can see the outlet of the watershed marked with a circle right here, and the ridgeline and high points around the watershed marked with X's. These arrows represent the surface flow direction. So if our hypothetical storm rained right here, any water that is to the right of these high points would flow into Sherman Brook. And any rain that fell to the left of the high point would flow into Glen Rock Brook. Then, beginning at the outlet, we are going to connect the high points in the terrain while always crossing the contours at a right angle, because water will always flow downhill and perpendicular to the topographic contours. And so we'll go around connecting the high points of our terrain until we get to the other side of the outlet and have a completed continuous closed boundary. So we're going to be looking at this basin right here. As you can see, it is located next to a golf course and a subdivision. We'll be able to use not only the contours, but also, our knowledge of gutters on houses, the knowledge of roads, and maybe there are inlets along here. That's also an important point. If the drainage area that you're looking at is in a municipality, you might have drainage infrastructure in GIS that you can use. If you have access to those, I highly encourage you to use those, because those can help inform which way the water is going. So as you can see, there are obvious high points where the roofs of houses are. As you could see the contours going down the street. And then there is a bit of a high point right here. So water starts going this way or this way. Appears to be another one here. Those will be important when we're trying to figure out which way the water is going. So I have a feature class already made so that I can start to draw the drainage areas. So I'm going to click on this so I can start drawing. And what I do is I always start just right around the basin, and I try to locate, the high point around the basin. As you can see, there is a bit of a berm right here, a high point. So I'm just going to go ahead and start kind of tracing around this way. Like I said, when we were discussing drainage areas, we're trying to find, the high point between two drainage areas. So if on the left side of this line, it would go into the basin. And if it were to fall on the right side, it would go, down into the golf course, probably into another basin. So we're going to go up this little hill high point here. You can see another high point here. So probably go down this way somewhat. And once again, you can see this right here. This elevation is 1,210. And so there's a bit of a high point in between these two, because here it goes 1210, 1209. This one also goes 1210, 1209. So that means there's a bit of a little crest in there. So we're just gonna split the difference there. I'm gonna go ahead, go up this house. So I've located that there's, again, a bit of a high point right here where after you go down the road from this area, water starts flowing this way. If you go up the road, water is going to start flowing this way. So you can see from the contours. So what I'm going to do is go up here, go back on the houses. I usually just follow like the ridge of the houses so that the front of the house will be draining down into the street, the back of the house will be draining the other way. Then I'll just go ahead and cut across like this. So since I don't see any other ponds located over here, I'm making the assumption that this pond is going to drain this section of the subdivision. So we're just going to keep following that assumption and drawing our drainage area. So again, splitting the houses right down the middle, front and back. So I have just finished my first pass of drawing this drainage area for the basin. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go just clean up any lines, any areas that I just kind of roughly went through. So what I like to do is I like to go, because we started going this way around the basin, I like to go back the other way to just clean it up a little bit. It's always easier for me to draw my drainage areas going upstream, if that makes sense. All right, so we finished drawing up the drainage area, and here it is. Again, we're using contours. It would be really helpful to have your drainage infrastructure GIS or any plans that you might be able to access, but using contours is a really great way to draw your drainage areas by hand. Again, look for high points along the area surrounding your basin, and then just sort of follow the high points as you go. Come around the other way. Always make sure to double check, make any edits that you need to get as accurate of a drainage area as possible. And yeah, just move on from there. The more you do it, the easier it gets. You can get pretty fast at them. Yeah, have fun.